Hi, I'm Melissa Watson, a certified sewing instructor for Palmer Pletsch and a designer for the McCall Pattern Company. All Palmer Pletsch patterns feature built-in fit, which means we have alteration lines printed on the pattern and guide sheets with full instructions on how to fit your body. Palmer Pletsch has perfected a method of fit called tissue fitting over the last 3 decades. If you follow the Palmer Pletsch tissue fitting order, you will be more successful and happier with your finished garment. Today I'm going to be fitting on Melanie M6965. It is a pant pattern with princess seams and really wide legs, which we call a skirt. So let's get started. I'm here with Melanie, my model today, and we're going to be fitting on her M6965, the skirt pattern. So the first thing that you're going to want to do to get a great fitting garment is start with the right size. For the bottom measurement, we always measure the widest part of the hip. You can measure the waist as well, but you want to fit to the widest part of the hip, and you can adjust for the waist afterwards. So it's gonna be a snug measurement around her hip, and I'm gonna pull it tight. Okay, so you are going to be a size 10 in patterns, and normally when you're in between a size or right on that size, we'll go to the smaller size depending on the amount of ease that the pattern has. So always look at your finished garment measurements. So I'm going to go prepare your pattern, get it all cut out and pinned, and I'll meet you back here and we'll do the tissue fitting. So the supplies that you're going to need today to fit and alter your pattern are some French curves, a clear ruler, some straight pins, some scissors, some paper scissors, 1/2-inch Scotch tape, some elastic. You can do a wider or a narrower elastic depending on the design of the waistband, tape measure, 2 different colors of ink pens, and tailor chalk. So I have my skirt pattern here, all pressed and ready and cut out. I cut out outside the cutting line so you can still see the cutting line of the pattern. And now I need to mark my stitching lines. So I'm going to start with red, and I'm going to mark 5/8-inch stitching line on all outside seam lines of the pattern. And I've already marked all of my stitching lines on the other pattern pieces. So the next thing that you're going to do for a pant pattern is you want to tape and clip your crotch curves. You need to do this so you can try it on fully. If you don't tape and clip the curve, you can't really get it all the way on. So you just want to put 1/2-inch Scotch tape on the inside of the stitching line. And you'll just use little pieces and tape around the curve. And now I'm just going to actually tape all the way up the center front. This just helps stabilize it. And now I'm going to clip to the tape, not through the tape, but to the tape, in multiple places around the crotch curve. And now I'm going to do this to the back of the pattern and start pinning everything together. When you're pinning together, let me grab the side front. You're going to pin wrong sides together, so it would be as you were trying it on. The right sides will be out. And you're going to start at the top as your control point and have your pins facing down so you don't pin your subject when you're fitting them. And I'm just going to finish pinning all the way down and pinning all my pieces together, and then we're ready to go try it on Melanie. So I put the elastic band around Melanie's waist at the point where she wants the pants to sit. And now I have the skirt all pinned together and I'm pulling it up on her. What you want to make sure is that your legs are kind of apart so you can get the tissue all the way up to her crotch curve in the front and in the back. And the first thing you want to do is make sure that the center front is coming to her center front. And I'll put a pin there. As well as the center back coming to Melanie's center back, which it is, and I'll just pin it down. And normally I would use the elastic to hold up the side seam as well, but since it is not where it needs to be, I'm just going to pin it to her. Now, because Melanie wants this higher waisted and she's longer in her crotch inseam, we are going to need to lengthen the crotch rise, the front rise. So I'm going to, I know the waistband is 1 inch, and to the stitching line, I need to add about 1.25 inches from the stitching line to meet the waistband, the top of the waistband. So that's what I'm going to add to alter Melanie's crotch depth. And then I'm also looking at it, and without the hem, she is going to need a little extra length because she told me before that she would like it to be full length to the floor. So I'm going to add about 1 inch, 1.25 inches to the length. I'm also noticing that she does have, the waist is fitting really nicely all the way around, but she does have quite a bit of extra room at the side seam and a little bit at the back, center back seam. So I'm going to just take my pins and pin this in a little bit. I think she also wants a little less flare, and this is a design option that you can choose. You know, when you're tissue fitting, you can kind of design as you go. So I'm going to have you just turn around, please. There we go. And see how she has a little extra, the curve is curvier than her bum. So I'm just going to take it in to fit her body a little bit snugger. Great. But it looks good in the waist. And so now I'm ready to do the alteration on the pants. And let's just fit the waistband just to make sure. So here's your center front. I'll have you turn back around for me. Thanks. I know it can be cumbersome with the tissue. So there's the center front, and the waistband is actually fitting great. I'll give you guys a look. I marked the seam allowances on there so I know where they're supposed to come to, and the waistband's fitting her perfectly. So we'll go do these alterations and then we'll fit you in fabric. So I have Melanie's skirt pattern here all unpinned except the side seam, because I need to mark now where the new pins are when I move them to fit her hip and take away some of the width in the side seam of the leg. So I'm just going to take my other color pen, my blue pen, because if you remember I originally marked with my red, and I'm going to mark where the pins are. And with the ink pen, it usually will bleed through to the other side of the tissue, so you should be fine to just mark on one side. And I'll take my pins out now that I've marked them. And now I'm going to draw my new side seam curve. And I can take my French curve now and gradually come up to the original stitch line right here and match it with my new pin mark. Now I can go about straight down from here, from that pin. She's pretty straight, you can tell by the pin markings. I'll just take this all the way down. From here, I think I'll just go straight with my straight ruler. Great. So that's going to be my new stitch line for her side seam. And now I just need to add seam allowance to it. Mark where the new seam allowance is, and then I will trim off the excess. I'll take 5/8. Great. Just make that curve one more time. Okay, now I can just trim off my excess tissue. Great. Now that my side seam is ready to go, as you remember, we're going to lengthen the crotch depth, 1 1/4 inches. So you have, on all Palmer Pletsch patterns, we have the alteration lines printed on the pattern, which is really helpful when you need to do these kind of alterations. So there's a line up towards the top that says lengthen and shorten here. This is for the crotch depth. So I'm going to actually just cut on this line. And I will pin, I have also grid lines on my cardboard cutting board. So I'm just going to pin the top half along one of these lines. This is just going to help keep it even and stable. And I'm using Palmer Pletsch Perfect Pattern paper to do these alterations. And this also has a grid printed on it, so I can quickly and easily measure out the distance that I want to add. So 1 1/4. And I always just pin my pattern and my pattern paper down onto the cardboard so it just stays stable. So there's 1 and there's 1 1/4. And I'll pin the bottom half down. Okay, and now I'm going to tape the perfect pattern paper and the pattern together. And you always want to remember to tape on the right side of the pattern. If you get in a habit of this, it's great because you don't really want to iron on top of the tape, so you'll always know now to iron on the wrong side of the pattern. And this will save you from the tape melting and ruining your pattern. Great. So now that I've lengthened this, I'm just going to trim off the extra pattern paper that I don't need. And now I'm going to lengthen the length of the entire pant. And remember, we said about 1 inch, 1 to 1.5 inches for Melanie. So here we have a lengthen and shorten line. I'm just going to cut on this line. And the reason that you don't want to lengthen it all in the crotch area is because then you'd have really deep inseam. You want to take what you need for the crotch depth and then lengthen for length at the lengthen and shorten line that's farther below. It doesn't cut into the crotch area. There we go. So I'll just do 1 inch here for Melanie. That should be just enough. And now I'm going to do the same to all 3 other pieces, the front, the back, and the side front. So before I go and cut my fashion fabric, I just want to show you what all of the pieces look like altered. And I want you to remember that in this pant, we have 4 pieces for one side. So a side front, a back, and a side back. It's a princess seam pant. So you need to remember to do the alteration to each piece. And now that everything is ready and it looks good, I'm going to go cut out my fashion fabric. So I have the pattern cut out and I've sewn the center front seams and the center back seams to try on Melanie. And I put the elastic band so it can hold up the top of the pant. And I am noticing that we do have still a little bit extra room in the fabric in the waist area. And this is totally normal. This is why we fabric fit, because each fabric is going to act a little differently. And you're seeing the difference between how fabric acts versus how tissue acts on your body. So I'm just going to pin this in a little bit on your waist just to fit you a little bit better. And if I could turn you around, please. Slowly, I know it's great. So I'm just going to smooth out the front until the side seams are tight enough that they fit all the way around. Perfect. And you still do have a little of extra room in the hip area. So once again, I'm going to pin it in. And when I get to my table, I'll just chalk these new pin marks, and that is where I will sew my new side seam. So the last thing that I'm going to do, since I have the pant on her, is I'm just going to mark the hem length. So we have a border print down here, and I just want to mark where I want it to end and make sure it's long enough. And that should be good. I'll do the other leg as well. Just show a little bit of toe. Melanie told me that she would wear this with flats, so I'll just make it as close to floor length as I can. Great, the hem is pinned up now and everything looks good. So I think we're ready to go and sew our pants together. And we'll come back and take a look at the final garment. Anytime you make a pattern for the first time, there's always going to be room for improvement. But remember that it's always going to be better if you tissue fit and fabric fit than if you just took the pattern out of the package and made it. I think we achieved a really great fit here. I love the length, the crotch depth adjustment really worked. It comes up past her belly button, high-waisted like she wanted. And I like the amount of flare. You remember we took a little bit out, and it's good for her body type. I think it looks really great. And I hope you enjoy your pants, and thank you so much for being my model today. And make sure to check out the rest of the Video Fit Guide series from McCall's. I'll see you next time.